Reporter Alexis Sita has the latest installment of our Community Safety Watch.
Thanks, Ben. Well, we're here in the seminar room of the Torrance Police Department to discuss new technology that the department is utilizing. So speaking of new, it's appropriate for us to introduce the new Community Affairs Division Commander, Lieutenant Mark Athan. Lieutenant, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So Lieutenant Athan is going to be joining us from this point forward on these Community Watch segments. And so last month, I had the opportunity to speak to Chief John New about the focus-based policing philosophy, which is now such a big part of the department. And one of the aspects of that is really having police officers, regardless of rank or area of responsibility, take cases as far as they can go. So some of this new technology is really making that possible. So let's talk about the RMS system.
Okay.
What does RMS stand for?
RMS stands for the Records Management System, and it is a great tool that we use here internally to fulfill, part of this the focus-based policing philosophy.
Okay, so when would you utilize the RMS? Let's talk about like an incident at dispatch.
Okay, so any incident that is generated by the community or by the officer himself automatically generates a record here in the police department. Whether the officer took a report or not, a record is generated every time an incident is created.
Okay, so if I am a resident here and I call and say, there is some sort of, loud noise happening, there is a car down the street, loud noise happening down the street, the dispatcher who answers the call would start filling out this report, correct?
Yes, the dispatcher receives the call, takes the information from the caller, and generates a law table and fills in as much of this screen as he or she can from the initial call.
And then from there, they fill out as much information, the dispatcher fills out as much information as they can, and then this is all also accessible to the officer who's eventually called in their mobile computer, correct?
Correct. Everything that is here internally inside the building from all the desk computers here, everything that is here is completely accessible in the police car itself as well. They are identical. They are mirrors of each other. Once the officer has determined the course that's going to be taken, whether he is or is not going to take a report, he'll take two different steps. If he does take a report, then he will complete this law table in its entirety, including a narrative, attach the reporting party's information, victim, suspect, witness, etc. And if not, if he's determined that he is not going to take a report, then it is closed out in a different manner, and he'll have options to leave a comments as to what the ultimate resolution was.
Okay, so then once you have this information, this sort of snapshot of this call, when would you go back to this to access this? What would be some of the reasons you would have to look at this table again?
Well, this table is also forwarded to supervision. It's done all electronically. We're paperless here in the police department now.
Oh, right.
So this is sent for approval electronically. This is sent to our records division electronically. This is sent to the detectives for follow-up investigation electronically. So for supervisors, we could go back and audit calls, and we could contact people related to the calls. I mean, there's a variety of reasons why we could go back and look at it.
So if an officer was investigating another case and has some sort of inkling that this call might somehow be related to whatever case he or she is investigating, they might look at this table and investigate based on this.
Yes, there's a lot of resources in here to track things by address, by area, by reporting party. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to track everything.
Let's move on to what the PIN map is. Let's use one, for example, abandoned vehicle.
Okay, sure. So I would pull up just a general search screen here in the law table, and I would put as the incident that I want to look at or pin on a map, I would select abandoned vehicle, and then I would put in a parameter of a date that I would want to search, a date parameter. So, for example, I could say everything from January 1st to today. So I'll say everything greater than January 1st of this year. And I just hit the accept button here, and it brings up all the tables. And I just hit this globe right here, and then it actually shows on a map of the city pinpoints of where these incidents have been reported and officers have responded.
For everything from the first of the year to today,
correct.
This is where an abandoned vehicle incident report was filled out.
Or an incident was reported.
Doesn't necessarily
mean the officer took a report. It's just an officer responded to an abandoned vehicle call for service.
So what would you use the PIN map for?
We use a PIN map all the time here internally in our briefing settings to show the officers where a specific activity is happening, because we could put anything in here. We could put, from the abandoned vehicle to burglaries to street robberies to whatever we wanted to see to track a trend or track a series of different crimes or look at certain areas that maybe we need to focus on a little bit better. So we will display in briefing or display in different meetings of trying to track activity, and the PIN map just gives a great visual snapshot of activity in the city for whatever you're looking for.
And you also use this to create the 3 different beats, correct?
A while back, the department did a statistical analysis related to incidents in the city, both officer-generated and citizen-generated, and based off that statistical analysis is how the 3 beats of the cities within the city were identified.
Well, you mentioned statistical information, so let's move on to the statistical crime log.
We had our information technology people create a program to give us a better visual snapshot of historical data for field activity being both officer and citizen generated. What this chart here shows is historical data for specific crimes, which are the more serious crimes, the Part 1 crimes, and it shows historical data over a period of time and does an actual comparison of the prior year to the current year and lets officers look at these crimes over a period of time.
And when would you utilize this information? When would you generate a report like this?
This is generated daily. We generate this particular report daily to continuously give the officers an update on the activity in their area of responsibility and in the city as a whole.
Okay, so if I was a watch commander in Area 2, you would look at this information, this daily log, and see what was happening in my area of responsibility.
Exactly. What this is here is we call this a heat map, and what it does is it shows the 5 different areas of responsibility, and it shows all of the actual incidents over the last 3 days. An incident being something that the officer responded to, whether it was a crime or not, whether it was reported on or not, but these are all the incidents that the officers responded to.
I would imagine then the chief would look at this and take kind of a broader view of what's happening in the city overall?
Exactly.
And can you access this mobily in the police cars as well?
Yes, this information is at the officer's fingertips in their vehicle.
So all of this information,
All of
the
it.
RMS and this can all be generated from the vehicle?
Exactly. We're trying to push technology as far as we can. These are great tools that we've recently created to utilize our technology and put it at the officer's fingertips to give him or her a better snapshot of the activity that's occurring in their area.
Thanks, Alexa. Lieutenant Athan and Alexa will be back next week to talk about how the department is using technology to inform the community about their work and in upcoming events. They're known for their spectacular Christmas lights, but Seaside Ranchos was also one of the city's first housing tracts, and now they are celebrating 60 years in Torrance. If you'd like to attend this special anniversary, come out to Seaside Elementary School on Saturday, March 20th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And if you have pictures of the area from the early days, please contact Tom Rishi at 310-375-04.